The Pod Network Entertainment.
Hey everyone, welcome again to another episode of Keri Kita. We are your guides into the gaming world. We are both hardcore gamers and hardcore parents. I'm Ray.
And I'm Joey. And we have here another Joey.
Yeah.
So we're going to talk to Joey Barrero today, a very special friend. Joey Barrero is an associate creative director for Octopus and Whale. Ooh. And he's also a would-be father. A football.
Congrats.
Yun, balang araw magiging parent siya. He's going to be a gamer parent very soon. He's a football enthusiast. He's an ex-streamer. And of course, he's an avid gamer.
Yes.
Yan. So we're very, very lucky to have him on board today on the podcast to actually share about his life gaming and actually connect back to episode 10 because during episode 10 we spoke to Enrique Barrero, who is the mod for the Twitch Philippines community. And if you can make the connection, this is the brother he was talking about.
Yeah,
Yan ang big
that's
bro. And the big bro is the connector of the family back to Enrique and gaming.
That's right.
And today we are very curious to find out about the Gamer Kuya who becomes the bridge to the parents. So we were talking in Keri Kita about how do you connect as a non-gamer parent to your child, right? But sometimes kapag hindi ka naglalaro, you don't understand the gaming community or the games that children play. It's very hard for you to connect to a hardcore gamer. And luckily in the Barrero family, there was a Kuya gamer, right? And when the Kuya gamer steps in to be the bridge between the parent and the hardcore gamer na bata, then it just becomes a little more interesting. So Joey is going to talk about that today.
Welcome, Joey.
Thank you so
Joey.
much. Lovely introduction. That is my brother. My brother, 10 years younger than me. Saktong 10 talaga. So, 1995 and 2005.
Oh.
10 years.
10 years talaga. Yeah.
And when Enrique came on board, he spoke about his situation where he was a little isolated from his parents from your parents because of gaming. No, and maybe you can shed a bit of light about the situation and then explain to us how you were able to reel him back into the family.
Okay. So I guess my parents weren't exactly gamers. I mean, obviously.
Non-gamer
they-
parents.
They are non-gamer parents. And me being their very first child is, I wanted to game also. And they actually never gave me a gaming life early on. So when I was in school and my friends were talking about Game Boys and Nintendo DS and PlayStation, I could only listen to them and be like, wow, that sounds fun, and never really have the experience for myself because my parents were of the type na, no, we're not going to get you that. They were thinking that it's a bad thing. They were equating it to bad things. But gladly, in the other Barrero families, the other cousins, they had gaming naman there. So that was like my way of getting introduced into gaming with my cousins naman. And I spent a lot of time with them also. So that's how I got into gaming. And so yeah, with that background, knowing that my parents weren't really on the hype train of gaming, and they were adamant of giving us gaming consoles. The very first gaming console they gave us was the Wii. And they allowed it, they tolerated it because meron siyang physical activity involved.
Yeah,
Yun ang sabi nila.
Motion
So,
control.
It was actually a family entertainment game console.
That's
Yes,
right.
yes,
That's
diba?
right. They were like, whoa, they saw everything about the Wii, yung mga naunang bumili ng Wii in the clan were the other titos, and they would bring it during the reunions.
Magte-tennis kayo.
Yeah, exactly.
And
Mag-Wii
tennis.
Sports kami.
Sports,
Yan, so nung nakita nila yung Wii Sports, sabi na, okay, so nag-exercise naman pala yung mga bata.
May
So,
physical activity
Baka
naman.
pwede naman bumili ng Wii. So yeah, that was our very
Yeah.
first gaming console. Well, of course, we had the PCs also at home, but not a lot of gaming CDs.
Because they were for school.
Yeah, they were for school.
And
so
work.
yeah, so if they saw you gaming, it was like, wait, you're not supposed to be doing that, or not at this time, ganyan. So yeah, there is a lot of hide and seek on, if I'm gaming, change screen, or like
So you
turn
are
it
the
off.
you are the gaming pioneer in the family.
Yeah, technically,
in your family.
In the family.
That's right. I was the gaming pioneer in the family. I was the first one playing computer games. And eventually, when our parents did allow some CDs to come in, tapos naalala ko pa, some of our introductions to the gaming CDs were in Coco Crunch boxes. Yung Bionicles.
Bionicles, yeah.
So Bionicles had like 3 variations of their games, and we collected all of them because we always had Coco Crunch. And so dun nag-start yung mga games namin. And since I think I was the most, at that time, of course, I was the most experienced mechanically. So my siblings, if they wouldn't be able to figure out something in gaming, they'd allow me to do it. So, Kuya, patulong naman sa part na to. Can you finish this part for me? Can you try this? I'd get the highest score, mga ganyan. So in the beginning, that's how it started.
So you mean you influenced your other siblings in gaming?
Yeah, I mean, sort of. They also picked it up on their own. Na parang nung nakita nila yung CD, or they would watch me game, they'd be like, hey, I want to try that out.
Right.
Yeah.
You were talking a while ago about because you were a big family, of 5 children.
Right.
And
we're
you
five.
were gaming on a PC na isa lang.
That's right.
All the rest of the family was watching.
That's right. Yeah. So there were only 2 PCs at home, and that was because the house was also used as the office of my dad's business that time. So doon lang kami sa ground floor, the new office, and then there were only 2 computers. My dad's computer was totally off limits, but my mom's computer pwede namin gamitin for gaming. So doon kami nagta-turn-based kami. Turn-based gaming.
Turn-based gaming.
So IRL yung turn-based
Oo
namin.
nga,
May
oo
nagta-time ng 30 minutes. Titingin sa clock talaga. Okay, it already reached that number. Okay, it's my turn to game. Ganyan. So
Turn-based.
yeah, yun yung totoong turn-based. I remember one of the funniest stories that we had of gaming with that computer at home. So context of the story. When my parents would come home, they would have a signature beep. Ayan, so that's how you know that they're home, diba? So we were downstairs, the closest part to the garage, and we were using mom's computer. And my brother Javi, the middle brother, he was he somehow conjured up reasoning telling us that mom said I could game while they're out, but only me, not you guys. And we were all like, that doesn't seem like it's believable, but okay, fine, we believe you. The best we can do is watch. So we were just watching him gaming. Yeah, he's gaming. Okay, yeah. Then we hear deet, 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 deet. Then he presses the button. Turns the computer off, and that's when
that's when you knew.
That's when we knew. Oh, you lied. You turned off the computer as soon as you heard the beep. All of us erupted into like, oh my god, you lied. Immediately as our parents came, Javi said he could use the computer. Did you tell him that he could only him? He could. No, I didn't tell him. Yeah, you lied. You immediately turned off the computer. Yeah. And at that time pa, sensitive pa kung you press the off button right away. Our parents were like, no, you have to turn it off the proper way.
Yeah,
of course.
Close all applications.
Mga corrupt
and you
yung
click shut
data.
down. Oo, so parang,
Walang back
you
yun,
did 2
recover.
bad things.
Two
you
bad
lied and you turned it off immediately when they were here.
You're so guilty.
So yeah, that was the background of how we would game. We would take turns talaga.
How did
Playing
it
the same
trickle down to
CDs.
Enrique?
Okay, it trickled down to Enrique. I think when we had the Wii na. So when we had the Wii, Enrique was a little bit older that he could game on his own na rin. So the first games we would have in the Wii, of course, Wii Sports, ganyan. But eventually we got into the Mario games because it's a Nintendo, and then we got into Super Smash Brothers Brawl. So that time it
Right.
was Brawl, and then there was a character pa. His name is Ike. So we would Enrique was maining Ike all the time, and also because we would call him Ike, like Ike, Enrique. So parang meron siyang connection with the name.
Ang galing.
So that time, he only knew how to. He was still learning how to press a few buttons, but he would always do the same move, like in a fighter game. So he was the youngest, and of course during that time we would beat him because he's the youngest that time, and he'd just play always the same move, so he was predictable ganyan. But then he would always get picon, and napipikon siya all the time. Tapos but he wanted to learn how to play. So parang his gaming developed along with his age also. Like since that was his main gaming console there, at times we wouldn't be playing it. He would be the one using it, and he eventually learned how to play the game a lot. And I think that was that was probably his introduction into gaming, probably the Wii. Yeah.
So in the last episode, actually, Ike said you were kind of, not kind of, but instrumental to, I think, a part of his life where he was, I guess, isolated from from your parents, no? And you did mention that I actually he was very, very grateful. He kind of paints you as is his hero.
That's nice to hear.
So
Nice to know I did something right.
and
Yeah.
can you tell us a little more about that story? I mean, his
Okay.
situation, how he
Okay.
was isolated, and how you stepped in to help him.
Right. So this was the pandemic, and he was getting into gaming that time and to a lot of Twitch communities. He got into Twitch communities because I started streaming Animal Crossing when it came out, because we just had gotten a Switch that time, and I tried streaming, and he was my first mod. He was the first. He was one of my first viewers ever. Like he got interested in the whole Twitch thing. Like, wow, I can watch you game through my laptop and everything, and he can see people chat. And so yeah, he became eventually the first mod that I had. It was probably the first stream he ever modded, and now he mods like 30 plus streams, right? So but he started there ish, and he continued being on Twitch and gaming and getting into other games even as I left and I didn't stream anymore. And so he would talk a lot to fellow gamers, and my parents would hear him and know they would be a little bit curious, like who you talking to, and then sometimes they hear the voices. They'd be older guys, men, women, ganyan, all ages and sorts, and the first reaction of my parents was concern, that they were wondering na, we hear of personalities on the internet and not all of them are great. Not some of them there are creeps out there, and especially in the world of gaming, there are a lot of creeps, and a lot of older men in gaming could be the creeps that they're worried
And how
about.
old was Enrique at this time?
He was 16. I think. Yeah,
16.
16. So this is 2020. Yeah. He's about 16 years old.
Minor.
Yeah, minor pa.
Definitely.
So my
Oo.
parents were really concerned, to the point na they were already advising him na maybe don't spend a lot of time there. Maybe don't talk to them. Don't let them know your voice or like where you live, or don't open your camera, mga ganyan. So, and that's them coming from their background, that they don't know anything about gaming. They don't know this thing about Twitch. It's completely foreign to them. So God knows who's on there. Parang that's their
that's
their belief. Na parang I don't know who's on there. All I hear is like guys with deeper voices than my son, and
Older guys, possibly.
older guys. When he asks by the age, some of them are Kuya's age, ganyan. Some of them are older than Kuya. Parang, and then medyo na sila, parang, paano ba yan? And so I sort of became like a mediator of sorts, where I would translate what was being done on those platforms, just to let my parents know na my basic function that time was just tell my parents it's safe. That's all I had to tell them. Like, it's safe, Dad. You don't need to worry. It's safe, Mom and Dad. Parang I know the people that he talks to there. Some of them are from the communities uh, that I was part of. Some of them were watching my stream before, and I know them, and I hear them, and I listen to some of their conversations since I'm beside him when we game, and they're wholesome. Don't worry.
But what drove you to explain this to your parents? Because sometimes parents don't want to, parang mahirap silang kausap when it comes to gaming, right? Because, I mean, parents are of authority. And sometimes when they receive this new information, it's like, I don't care. I don't want to understand. But I think, and they would often accuse millennials to not having the patience to explain, right? But what drove you to explain to them what this entire thing is?
Right. If I'm being completely honest, what drove me to want to explain it to them was seeing the pain of Enrique. Like when I saw that because he's not exactly great at articulating his feelings. As I said, he's yung sa lahat ng gamers dun sa bahay, siya yung pikon. Magdadabog siya. We used to joke nga that we would call him his nickname is like that because that's what he would ganun yung sound niya pag parang
talaga?
ticking time bomb siya kapag nagagalit siya. He doesn't know how to articulate the feelings. And me, as somebody who loves talking and loves articulating feelings, I'm a writer, diba? So I love using words. I use words all the time to communicate to other people, finding the best way to communicate to them in a way that they understand what the market is trying to say. I saw that opportunity na my brother is in pain. Kasi there was that conversation nga that my dad was there in the family room and asked, parang, can I talk to Enrique for a while? I lingered around because I kind of knew it was about gaming. And I knew that Enrique found joy in it, but then maybe he didn't know how to explain it to my parents. So I lingered around, and then also because I was the eldest and I dip my fingers in everything that happens in the family.
There you go. Yeah.
So yun, when my parents were telling him that, parang I could tell na he was in pain, na parang he didn't know how to say na, no, they're fine. All he could say is like, they're okay. We're okay. They're not the gut. They're not the gut. You don't know. You don't understand. Ganyan.
Yeah.
Medyo aggressive yung niya. Parang kasi he doesn't know the right words. The only thing that he could do is push back.
Correct.
And it would come out as, maybe the parents might see it as rebellion, or they might see it as like nagdadabog lang siya, ganyan.
Or nagiging aggressive dahil sa
This is so-
gaming.
This is so
naging
precious
aggressive
coming
sa-
from someone from a close enough relationship within the family to interpret both sides.
Yes.
Alam mo yun, kasi-
that's gold.
Actually, it is gold because I went through the same thing. There was never there was no one. So, yan. So, this is very precious right here.
mediator, right? There was no intercessor. I think what's important in this story is that Joey had the patience, the concern, and the bandwidth to intercede. Kasi another kuya lang pa kayo, diba?
Oo nga, yung iba baka walang pake.
Ayoko, madadamay pa ako dyan baka pati yung gaming ko.
Madamay, pati ako. Pati ako
Oo nga.
madamay. Pati ako makat yung but
Oo nga, yeah.
yeah. But you're so right in interpreting the both sides, na parang for the kid to be defensive, it's aggressive yung dating. And then pagdating sa parents, ang dating agad nun is being rebellious. It's spot on, I think. But for someone to be there close enough to be in a
Natamaan
close
ka.
relationship.
You're
A
so
tear fell.
You are so affected because hindi ka dinefend ng kuya mo.
Shout out.
Shout out sa kuya ko.
Shout out to my kuya. Hindi, kasi kami rin malayo yung agwat namin, and he's into a lot of different things at that time. Anyway, this is a story for that's a story for another time. But this is so precious because there's someone in the same room, and that's very, very crucial, to stick around in the same room.
Nangialam eh.
Yeah.
Which is so important, right? So, continuing to your story, Joey. So you stayed in the room, and then you had to articulate to your parents na, these are the same people I hang out with, and they are okay.
Parang I felt that it was my responsibility to talk about it. Not just because he's my brother. I mean, if you're talking about motivation, talagang it's because he's my brother. Na parang I'm just a soft, loving brother. Na parang pag nakita kong oh my gosh, my brother is on the verge of tears. Like I can't let that happen. Ganyan. So, but then other parts of the responsibility was also, I was the enabler. Parang ako yung
Right.
nag-introduce ng Twitch sa kanya.
Mm.
So, if there's someone to speak on the behalf of that interest of my brother, it's me. I was the one who spoke about it. And parang ako yung nag-introduce sa kanya na, sige, mag-Twitch tayo, maging mod ka sa akin. Tapos na yun, na nasa ibang mga streams na siya and he's meeting other people on Discord and talking to them on the voice chat and I did the same thing and you know, that's where we communicated primarily. I'm of the responsibility because I know that background. So I was telling them that it's fine. It's completely fine.
How did your parents react to that when you stepped in?
Gladly, they trust me. Because because I guess I've shown myself as trustworthy enough to them na I was basically telling them na you don't need to parent my brother because I will be doing that because I understand where he is, what the platform is. So since you don't know the platform, you don't know who he's talking to, and that's your concern. Since I know that, I will do the parenting for you. Parang ganun yung message na nabigay ko sa nila na no worries because I'm also the one who's always there beside him. Parang yung setup namin
Because
is
you share the same passion, no?
yeah. And we share the same room of where we sleep and also where we game. It's the same room. Our tables for gaming are literally beside each other because we were the two PC gamers, or at least that time he was on laptop pa lang. So I hear every conversation that he has there. And my dad is in the opposite room, like right across that. That's his office. So parang I don't want naman na nakikisaw-saw palagi yung dad ko. Syempre, yung brother ko can see when that happens. And so he might feel a little bit embarrassed to have some conversations. And those conversations might be more comfortably had if it were just me there. So parang
Like someone who understands.
yeah, someone who gets it. And sometimes it's not even just of the topic of the conversation, not because it's something that's embarrassing, but maybe it's just something to be relatable of. Like, it's about the game. And my parents don't know about that game. So, baka kung ano yung isipin nila, kasi yung terms ng games, baka isipin nila kung ano yun. It might be bad. Oh, whatever. What does that mean? What does this mean? Ganyan, laging tinatanong nila. And so, to appease both sides, it's just like, let him game, and I will monitor. If I see anything that I think is wrong, I'll let you know. But that's it. And ganun na lang. Parang I was just the ear on the ground of my parents. But at the same time, pinapaalam ko sa brother ko na, hey, I'm on your side too. Na parang, I spoke. Actually, my parents are very reasonable people. So, my dad actually told my brother because my dad understood pretty quickly naman when I told him na, I explained it to him. Ito yung platform na ginagamit nila. This is how they interact. This is how those people get into those communities in the first place. And then they don't share anything too private naman kasi ito naman yung safety measures niya, etc. Tapos nung naintindihan ka ng dad ko, parang he trusted me immediately. He said, okay, I understand that. And then he just told Enrique also. He was like, Enrique, you should be thankful Kuya's there. He told him then na parang you should be thankful Kuya's there kasi he defended you. He spoke for you.
Nice.
Na kapag and I didn't understand that. I don't understand. And it was hard for me to get it from you because I know you're emotional about it. But then your kuya was able to speak about it. So you should thank him also. So my brother thanked me. He told me thank you. And yan. So that sort of, when I felt that also as somebody who gets validated by the words from other people, that's where an increased sense of responsibility came also. Na parang, it's not only a mediator in terms of translation, but it's a standing for the values of both sides of a parent's concern and also the value of a kid just wanting to be a kid.
Hey, it's Stan.
It's Ro, Chino,
Emil. And along with Ro and ASH, we are the Wrestling Podcast. We are the longest running weekly episodic Filipino wrestling podcast.
Each week, we talk about the latest happenings in pro wrestling. We give you takes from perspectives honed from years in the wrestling business and syempre as fans.
If you want someone to help process the feels about the different ganaps from WWE, AEW, NJPW, Impact, and more each week, you'll know what to do.
Tune in to the Wrestling Podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcast, and wherever you get your podcasts.
Right. That's so important. No, I'm going to underline that by repeating it. Like when you said, when your father gave you the responsibility, kind of handed it over. No, sabi mo, okay, hindi ko yan naiintindihan. Because one, that's important. It's admittance that, okay, that's beyond me. Okay, I accept the fact na hindi ko yan naiintindihan. Mas naiintindihan mo yan, kuya. And then I'm passing on the torch to you. Has given you a sense of greater responsibility.
Right. Yeah.
And if there are like kuyas out there who are listening, kuyas and ates, diba? What would be the pointers wherein they can step in and explain to the parent na, uy, okay lang na naglalaro yung kapatid kong mas maliit, right? Or mas bata. What pointers will you give?
Firstly, I'll answer that question before going into the important personalities that a parent has to have. No? So they thought something was wrong. Thought, keyword. They thought something was wrong because my brother would speak to these multiple people all the way until 2 a.m., 1 a.m., ganyan. And,
so oras.
Yeah, oras. And for them, parang, this is my guess. They didn't articulate this. But my guess is that if you're talking to a person past, if it's in the wee hours of the morning, then that's usually a love interest.
Correct. Telebabad.
Yeah,
at that time.
diba?
During our time, yeah.
Telebabad.
Yeah, shout out again to my kuya, the Telebabad king. Anyway.
And usually
diba,
they're right.
Ganun yun diba?
They're right. And their experience with me also, ganyan. Kapag may kausap ako na hanggang late, minsan nakakita nila yun Yung dating evidence naman nila yun nung time na yun, when it was me who was in the adolescent stage. It was
Naliligaw.
Oo,
kapag may nililigawan naman na babae, I talk to her all the way till late at night and they can hear it kasi magkatabi lang na room or we all have a centralized phone and they can see if the line is in use.
Oh, correct.
So line is in use tapos may naririnig sila sa ibang room na
yan na yun.
Okay, may kausap si Joey sa phone.
Okay.
Hindi naman sila sa type na they'd intrude.
Yeah.
No, but
Listen in.
Hey,
Hello.
what are you talking about? Hindi
Hello,
naman
party
ganyan.
line.
Pero they'd know. So, their concern is like, yun nga, it's either a love interest, which they sort of understand, but also they want you to sleep. It's like, go rest. It's pretty late. Health. And also, parang naalala ko yung my dad was able to articulate to me why he thinks I should be also, like if I'm interested in the woman, why I should be sleeping earlier. Because sabi niya, isipin mo, yung tatay din niya.
Oh.
May kausap. Iisipin ng tatay niya.
Mas mapapagalitan siya.
Oo.
Your dad is awesome.
So my dad is
Shout
very
out,
good at
Sir Marrero.
Yeah, he knows the perspectives of other people, and I guess he's speaking from his own perspective. Like he's saying na, imagine mo if you like that girl, and gusto mong pabango sa parents niya, syempre. Tapos nakikita niya na ikaw yung you're sleeping, you're taking the sleeping time off of my daughter. It's not a good look on you.
Galing.
So you'd like it, and especially if it's late times of the day where you guys should be sleeping. It looks much nicer if you're able to talk during the earlier parts of the day. So he was able to give a perspective and also like an alternative. Na parang, I'm not telling you don't talk. I'm telling you talk at the proper times. So, that actually.
To all the boys out there, no?
Yeah.
Remember that.
Galing. So.
I guess tutuhog na yan dun sa
Exactly.
diba? Yung mga
Tutuhog na yun
level-headed talaga
sa
yan.
pagiging personalities ng parents ko. Ayun, so recapping, my parents thought that there was something wrong when my brother was talking to people late at night and yung boses na narinig nila, lalaki. Na parang hindi ata siya kasing edad ni Enrique. Parang mas matanda. Parang kasing edad ni Joey. O mas matanda pa nga. And when he asked Enrique, totoo nga. how is Enrique gonna explain that? No, it's not what you think, diba? Like, how is he gonna explain na there's nothing happening here?
And
It's
you're
just
an
related
angry
to gaming.
teenager, right?
Yeah, if you're,
You're
an
an
angsty
angry
teenager,
teenager. Oo.
and you just want a game, and the reason that you're staying up is because you just want a game, and it's in the middle of the pandemic, and you don't have any friends that you talk to other than these guys, and so they're the ones who make you feel sane. So if they're the ones who syempre, yung first reaction mo is magagalit ka talaga na
Correct,
parang,
oo eh.
don't take that away from me. Diba? Parang,
Oo.
don't demonize them as somebody that they're not.
Because they're saving him
Yeah.
from depression,
That's
probably.
exactly,
right?
exactly. That's his perspective. Like, these are my friends. The same way that you see me hang out with my friends in school, they might not look the same because you don't know how they look. They might not speak the same, but they're the same, my friends. They're also my friends. They're also
Galing.
the people I play games
Actually,
with.
Joey, Enrique did articulate that these friends that he was speaking to in episode 10 that they really saved him from loneliness and isolation during the pandemic.
And they eventually met up
Oh,
after.
and
I saw that,
I think
yeah.
one of the happiest things that he shared was the fact that these people he met online became his real friends. And to this day, they would hang out. So if your father took that away from him, it might have led him to a much darker path.
Yeah.
Exactly. So kaya in the beginning phases pa lang, he was already angsty about it. Na parang, no, don't take that away from me. And I already knew that, yun nga, na this is important and I have to speak up about this. So that's what led to that conversation. So sakto yun. Moving on now to what kind of personalities,
Yeah.
what kind of traits that parents should have if they are non-gamers, because that's exactly what my parents are. The story has a brilliant ending. My brother sees his gamer friends regularly. They allow him to game as much as he wants. They allow him all that freedom, and they understand. In fact, they take joy in hearing him loud in his gaming chair.
Nice.
They mention it. They articulate it to me how
Nice.
much they appreciate that. They tell me na, you know, Enrique's not very loud, but then when he plays games,
Nice.
naririnig mo lahat. And that's nice to hear.
Oh,
And because
man,
Enrique is
that's
very
great.
introverted, diba?
Exactly, exactly.
He's very introverted, he's very quiet. So I think your parents sense that his true self emerges when
Correct.
he's playing with his friends.
Exactly. That's what they noticed eventually. They were like, you know, lumalabas talaga yung character niya kapag nagigame siya. So, sige, tuloy na lang yan. Parang ganun yung ending niya. So, how do you get from a non-gamer parent to that
Yeah,
kind
to
of
that,
ending?
no?
So, it really came from, first, I would say the attribute is the openness
Yeah,
that my
openness.
parents had. They had to, so a little context also on my parents. They are very intentional about their parenting. From the very beginning, when I was a younger child, they would go to different seminars on learning how to parent. And so that intentionality mixed with also them being of the youngest of their families. They're quite big families. My dad comes from a family of 8 children, and he is the second to the last. My mom comes from a family of 9, and
Wow.
she is the youngest. So the fact that they're more towards the end of the spectrum, that means also they're more open-minded to living different kinds of lifestyles, because they also live different lifestyles apart from how their older siblings lived it. So they were intentional about their parenting. They were open about what their kids had to say about what they thought about gaming.
Nice.
So the first step really is to listen. Na parang, okay, what are you doing? Ganyan. So, and then the next is you have to be able to articulate your concern properly. That was what my dad was very good at. He was able to say, not just say na he's concerned, but to say why. So he's like, I'm concerned because there are people on the internet who are not very good. That's correct.
Correct.
So it's a conversation to be had, so that the child also learns, or the gamer child also learns, what are the parameters that I should be operating within, so that I am also within the good graces of my parents. Yun. So the openness, the intentionality, the first step of listening, the ability to articulate
Articulate, yeah.
what concerns a parent has, and then the ability to negotiate with the child. That's one thing that my dad is also very good at. He, instead of determining, I want this time, you stop, or I want this to happen, he would ask me and brother, he would ask Enrique, okay, so how do you want to do this? Because this is my concern. Nilabas ko yung concern ko, nilabas mo yung concern mo. Obviously, I mean, kahit hindi na nilabas ng tama, kasi iyak lang siya or galit lang siya, naintindihan niya, okay, I understand you're emotional about it. I have my concerns and you can't take that away from me as a parent because I'm interested in your safety. Parang ganun yung kinummunicate ng dad ko. So, because I have this concern and you have your concern, what's our midway? Ano yung gagawin natin na yun? So, gusto ko kasi you're not sleeping too late because you understand that that's important for your health also, right? So, yeah, parang communication. Yeah, right, that's right. I should be sleeping a little bit earlier. So, what can we do so that you can sleep a little bit earlier, but you can still game? Yeah. So the resolution comes from that conversation. The ability not just to articulate what you want, but also the humility to negotiate. It takes a lot of humility to negotiate because the parent has to understand that this is not a place for their dictatorship.
Right.
This is not, when it comes to gaming, it doesn't work. Dictatorship doesn't work. It will make the child more resentful and more creative to find ways to still game in the way that they want to.
Because they really want to do it, no? So
exactly.
It pushes you to be more innovative
Yeah.
in the ways you want to make it happen.
Yeah. So that's where you feed their creative rebelliousness.
Correct.
So it's a choice
That's a
of...
great term, creative rebellion.
Yeah, creative rebelliousness. So it's a choice of what would you rather have. It's a choice of what alternatives would you rather choose, diba? If you're a non-gamer parent, would you rather know what your child is consuming and have an agreement that both of you have shook hands on?
Correct.
Or would you rather dictate what they do and then watch chaos unfold afterwards?
Exactly.
And then breed a creative
Breed,
rebel.
Yeah,
diba?
breed a creative rebel who
when
is
you-
always trying to dodge what you're trying to do
Yeah.
You're trying to
instead of
Oo.
listen to you.
And we've said it before, when it comes to technology, there's no way you can be better than your child.
Yeah.
Right? Because they know their ins and outs of technology.
That's right.
Right? So I think just to round on what you were saying, sobrang important, Joey, and I'm so happy you're
Yeah.
here because it's so nice
Very
to hear
thankful.
from, kasi parents din kami, and sometimes parents will say, oh, diba? Totoo ba yun?" So, but I think hearing you as the gamer kuya and the very concerned one, talk about what qualities your parents had as they navigated this very important, I guess what you call this dilemma that your family had, is very, very precious. And I wish my dad was like that. Shout out, Dad. I
Mga
love you.
hubang-hugot natin.
You're a boomer, but okay.
But yeah, I'd also like to probably stress after all of that discussion na we recognize it's not that easy. It's not
that
easy.
easy. It's not that
not
easy. And it takes a special parent to really reach out. I think I am going to encircle what you said about humble negotiations. Negotiate with humility. And it takes a lot for a parent to actually go down the level of your child and negotiate and say, ano ba talaga yung gusto mo? 'Di ba? And be very articulate about what the concern is. Because it takes a lot of, I guess, open-mindedness, some sort of, yung hindi ka masyadong pagod, hindi ka masyadong galit.
The
Because
right
sometimes, kapag pagod ka, magagalit ka na lang,
Yep.
right? Magagalit ka na lang eh. Because, of course, a lot of parents out there would be very tired.
Right.
They would be working more than 9 to 5. They would be preparing meals for their children. They would be commuting, 'di ba? And then nandito ka, naglalaro ka lang. Tas galit ka pa nung pinatigil kita.
Galit ka pa.
yan,
And of course,
yan.
your father was amazing when he tried to rein in his emotions.
That's right.
But most of the time, in most households, mataas pareho yan.
Yep. Both
Like, I would
sides.
find myself sometimes, after a long, hard day's work, your emotions are also getting the best of you.
That's right. Yeah.
And you will say, ano ba yan? Di ba kanina ka pa dyan? Nakaupo ka lang dyan. Chu-chu-chu. Ek. Di ba? And then, of course, your child will also be immature about his emotions, and then boom, chaos.
Yep.
Right? So
Sasabog lang yan.
how would you think, given that no, mataas yung emotions, let's kind of empathize with that family who wherein the parents are tired, the parents are like probably stretched thin by responsibilities, a gamer who is perceived as delinquent, and you as the gamer kuya, how will you step in?
Okay. Um, before I get there, I really like that point that you mentioned na to underline again on the humility that comes into negotiation. It takes immense patience
Yeah.
from a parent because most of the time the perspective of the parent is I know better than you.
Yeah.
One,
Yeah,
yes.
I know better than you. And when you enter a negotiation, you question if you really know better than the child. You
correct.
allow yourself to bring yourself lower to humility, where you can ask yourself now, maybe I'm not 100% right
Correct.
in this, so let's negotiate on the better way to do things. Yun. So in a household where patience runs thin, I would suggest, well, I'm only speaking from what I've seen from my parents. So this is what I noticed my dad would do. My dad chooses a particular time to talk about it. He doesn't talk about it when his emotions run high. He
Important
chooses a
point.
time to talk about it. He
Ang galing.
So we're a prayerful family. We pray the rosary. We prayed the rosary a lot when we were in the pandemic. So my dad chose that time right after the rosary.
Nice.
Because that's a good rosary is about 15 minutes of saying the same words,
Yeah,
but it's a good
it's
time
meditation.
it's meditation, it's patience, so everyone is able to
Yeah.
for a good 15 minutes. And so after that 15 minutes, he just calls Enrique over. Parang after that minute of prayer, okay. Also, so that his mind is in the right space, I would imagine.
Galing.
Right. I
As
think
a
that's
very
the most
intentional parent.
important thing. Kasi
Galing.
siya yung mag-instigate, diba?
Exactly.
So as he is the leader, he should be in the right mind.
That's right. And
So-
what better
Galing.
activity to put himself in the right mind of an intentional parent than praying the rosary
Yeah.
first?
After
It's
prayer.
like, exactly. This is a family prayer. You're praying with everyone, and malamang yung mga pinagdadasalan niya is his concerns, and
Yeah.
and his concerns include his children. So siguro, I mean, I'm speaking for my dad here, but I'm sure that that's his intention. Na right after that rosary, sige, that's usually the time that he talks to us. He pulls us aside, and so that intentionality, he chose that time. He's not gonna all the other times na maliit yung konti lang yung patience niya. He's not gonna choose to speak
Galing,
that
galing.
time. It's like, sige, not here. He maybe make a comment. Di ba late na? Gaganon siya. Or gising ka pa rin? Ganyan. Every now and then, those are little, you could call them slips if you'd like, but yeah, I mean, they're little comments on
He's
the side.
human. Fathers
Yeah,
are human
he's
too.
human, he's human. But yeah, parang you really have to bite your tongue a little bit and to choose the time that you want to speak to your child, because you also realize that shapes how they have communications with other people in the future. That for their eventual children or for their eventual partners, that's also how they're going to do what do you call it? Crisis management in the household. That's what builds how they are going to develop their system for doing that also. So my dad choosing that particular time, na gusto ko, it's a time where we're both relaxed, so that you're not super emotional. Emotions will naturally come. Pero mas kita natin na raw siya and coming from that point. So, yun. Parang that's a key siguro. That's the main key.
That's
Choosing a
so
time.
precious, choosing your time, because I also equate it to, they also teach that in meditation kasi you don't have to deal with your emotions right there, right now, when you get them. Diba? You in fact, that's a teaching in meditation. No? Parang when you get the emotion, there's a detachment. You may want to detach and observe it from a third person kind of point of view, and let it happen, but then do not necessarily act and react.
Yeah.
Ang
In
galing
gaming,
nun.
ang tawag dyan, cool down. You do it during your cool down. Right?
Yeah, that's right.
So, I mean, amazing stories from Joey. So, thank you for
So precious. Yeah.
sharing such, I guess, words of wisdom, not just from you as the Gamer Kuya, but the rest of your family.
Yeah.
And I guess we are so lucky to hear that, yung from Enrique, then from you, and then through you, your father. So shout out, Daddy Barrero. Thank you so much for raising a family of gamers.
And we're excited as well for
Yeah,
you
and,
to be
and for
Yeah.
future
and
gamer.
to raise the next
The next
the next generation of
Oo.
gamers. I'm sure you will make an amazing father.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. That means a lot to me.
You will be an amazing
Yeah, I
father.
can't wait. Looking forward to that.
So I guess hearing all of that from Joey gives you a bit of tutorial and pointers on I never expected how prayer can come into the conversation in gaming, but it is so precious, and I am so thankful to have you.
So I was gonna make a point pala about that, about prayer, yung our conversation going to prayer. That makes actually this podcast really meant for Pinoy parents. Right? It's really meant for Pinoy parents, Pinoy culture, because sa atin sobrang fitting yan eh. Especially during the pandemic when, everyone is inside. Probably yung iba na bobor, probably yung iba na mentally unstable. But only in Filipino households would we, pray the rosary every day just to get over what we were experiencing. That's a very Pinoy thing. That's a very precious thing to mention, and I'm so glad that you mentioned that.
So there, no? It's fantastic conversation with Joey, Gamer Kuya, future father. Ayan. And, to parents out there who are listening, I hope you learned from this podcast. Carry ba natin yan?
Carry kita.
The opinions of podcast creators, hosts, and guests are not necessarily reflective of the official stance of the Pod Network Entertainment, its hosts, or other network programs. The content created by the people behind the podcast is personal and not meant to harm any religion, ethnicity, group, organization, company, or individual.